Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
To start the show today, so
that's not how this works.
No, I mean you told me right out of the gate.
I wanted to start off on a more somber note this morning.
Yeah.
Liverpool Portugal forward Diogo Jota and his brother Andre Silva were killed this morning in a car crash in Spain.
Awful.
The soccer world has been in mourning since this morning. Of course, Jota was 28. His brother Andre Silva was 25.
That's just terrible.
Yeah, and he joined Liverpool back in 2020. He originally played for Wolverhampton Wanderers before that, and he was a player who played with joy and happiness, was always smiling, and so it's been a morning of mourning. He got married less than 2 weeks ago to his longtime partner in a ceremony on June 22nd.
It's just awful.
So we're sending
it's just awful.
Yeah, we are sending our thoughts and prayers to his family, his friends, loved ones, everybody. So I know, sad note to start off with, but that was something I wanted to talk about.
No, but that, it's important. I mean, just like when Johnny Gaudreau, last year and his brother were killed, right, biking, getting ready for their sister's wedding, right, and people are like, well, what were they doing? Like literally nothing. And the guy made a mistake and hit them. Things like this happen, unfortunately. And when it does happen, it is a constant reminder for all of us about how precious life truly is. And so we live life to the fullest. And so on this particular holiday weekend, obviously we want you to do everything responsibly. Okay, but just have a great time because guess what?
Life is precious.
It is precious, and we're surrounded by so many wonderful people in our lives. And while we never personally knew him, I mean, for obvious reasons, it still brings back. There are people that, whether they're fans or whether they happen to be family members or friends. I mean, this is an incredible tragedy for all of them, right, including the fans. And so, tough way to start, but also one that is a stark reminder about how precious and how wonderful life happens to be.
That it is. And then last night in Los Angeles, we got to see the 20th pitcher all time, Mr. Clayton Kershaw, hit the 3,000 Ks mark.
Yeah.
He is the 20th all-time, the third active player to do so. Of course, Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer both are in the 3,000 club. Scherzer is 11th, and Verlander is 10th all-time, and the two of them are still going. There's a chance that Verlander could catch Walter Johnson in 9th place.
Right.
And even get even higher than that if it keeps on going this season.
Kershaw is, without question, one of the greats. It's interesting. He has had such a mixed bag in the postseason. And I keep bringing up postseason because, no matter who it happens to be, for this particular reason, at this point, the best lineups are out there every single time. The best pitching staffs are out there every single time. Can you be better than they are? So 2018 World Series, the Red Sox are playing the Dodgers. Kershaw's pitching game two. Right? And somebody said, well, Kershaw's pitching. I said, no problem. And it was no problem.
Yeah.
And I believe he pitched game 5 too. And that's
I think he did.
And they said, well, I said, this is a do or die. I said, no problem. Why? Because it rarely has been his moment. Now in 20, and everything in 20 is just completely different. I mean, it's completely different, but he was outstanding.
Found his groove.
Pitching in, I think it was in Arlington, wasn't it? I believe it was. And he was outstanding there. It's almost like his postseason record is similar to that of an Alex Rodriguez. It is similar to what Barry Bonds, where Bonds only had one good postseason. Alex Rodriguez only had one good postseason. In a lot of ways, for Kershaw, that was his postseason. As a regular season pitcher,
He was incredible.
He is and continues to be a joy to watch.
Yeah, and it was literally just the getting over the hump of the postseason stuff. He did that in 20, and now he
and look, he's
3,000.
he's fought through injuries like everybody else. I mean, I was glad to see he came back this year.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sure if he would, but I'm glad to see he did come back this year, which is great. Mm-hmm. And he's truly one of the best ever. He's without question, I would say, among the top 50 starting pitchers ever. You're like, why 50? It seems like a big number.
It's a huge list.
But the game goes back to 1869.
You know who's 52nd on the all-time Ks list? Sandy Koufax.
Yeah.
But
Koufax only pitched to 30.
I know. But that's the thing is you go purely based on numbers. If you're taking the top 50 strikeouts, Koufax isn't the top 50 guy, and Koufax is one of the greatest ever.
Yeah.
This is...
No, so now, we're getting to the point now where people would say, well, is Ohtani the best ever? It's like, to me, you can't do this stuff anymore. Like, we did that list yesterday with the NBA, but you really can't do it.
No.
It's hard to cross eras. Well, the players of this era, the players of this era are what? In better shape, maybe, but does that mean they're better? Not necessarily. I don't recall anybody driving to the bucket and having Bill Russell standing there going, "Oh God."
Every era is different. Every player is different. Like I've seen people say, I've seen a lot in recent weeks. I don't know why I ended up on this side of the discourse of seeing it. But I've seen a lot of people say Mariano Rivera wasn't that good. He wasn't a good closer.
That's crazy. That's
then
insane.
you try and stand up there.
That's
you
insane.
know he's throwing a cutter. You know it's coming.
That's insane.
Hit it.
No. You look.
And I see things like that, and I'm like, why are we having this discussion?
You have people who initiate discussions. I'm going to assume this is a social media discussion.
It was
right?
Yeah.
Okay. So okay. No offense, but not normally a Mensa convention. So very few people in these provocative discussions are asked to bring the potato salad to the Mensa picnic. So it's okay. They just say things to say things, and stuff like that's ridiculous.
Yes.
After a while, should he been? They talk about him being the only unanimous Hall of Famer. There's an absurdity to that.
Yeah.
Okay, you're telling me that he's the unanimous Hall of Famer, but Willie Mays isn't. Mm-hmm. Hank Aaron isn't. Yeah. Joe DiMaggio isn't.
Babe Ruth.
Well, that first group that's a little different.
But Babe Ruth shouldn't have been we're going through some of the greatest players ever. They should have been unanimous.
Actually,
Nolan Ryan.
Actually, Ty Cobb got more votes than Ruth.
Ty Cobb, Honus Wagner, Nolan Ryan.
But even recent players. Yeah. Right. I'll never forget somebody got all bent out of shape because Dan Shaughnessy of the Boston Globe did not vote for Derek Jeter. Mm-hmm. Right. And I looked at the guy and I said, who cares?
He got in.
He says, well, no, he should have been. I said, hey, slow down. I said, once you get to 75%, it's gravy time. Who cares at that point?
Was it Billy Wagner who got 74.8% or whatever it was?
Billy Wagner, who should,
he doesn't care if he gets 99 or 75%. He just wants 75. That's all he wants.
Right. And that he was actually the guy I used. I said, he's looking for one more vote.
Uh-huh.
Right?
He just needs one.
Right? And you're all bent out of shape because he didn't get one more to be unanimous? Come on. It's
if you are in the hall, you are in the hall. That's how it works. And everyone's in, and the whole unanimous thing, sure, cool, whatever.
That's what I always...
Ken Griffey Jr. went in with what? He missed out on 2 votes, I think, or something
whatever.
3. It's he got in. Why are we doing this? Why are we having this discussion?
I know.
It's dumb and ridiculous.
Well, we have stupid discussions like this all the time because we're always searching for stuff to talk about.
I will say, I think Clayton, Kershaw, Verlander, Scherzer, these guys probably going to the Hall of Fame. Would not surprise me if they go to the Hall of Fame.
Verlander's an automatic.
Verlander's an automatic.
Scherzer's a little...
Scherzer and Kershaw are both, I think, in that same...
Kershaw's in, no matter what.
But
Scherzer has had an odd career. Early on with Detroit, really good. All right? Not great, but really good. Had the ability at times to dominate. As he moved on in his career... He had these dominant moments, but then he also had like a lot of injuries, not so dominant moments. His World Series record is very mixed. I mean, hey, can't wait to watch him pitch. Like the world said, this will be great. Scherzer's pitching in the World Series, and Strasburg was better. Right? Now Strasburg's not going to the Hall of Fame. You look, you project a guy who was a first overall pick in the draft, which he was. Like, hey, he could be. But Strasburg was, when he pitched, he was great. Scherzer's had such a mixed bag over the last 6 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the interesting part. The mixed bag part is going to be the part that the first time through, I'll bet he gets like 40 to 50% of the votes. He's going to be a long-term guy on there. Kershaw is going to get in the first time he's on the ballot.
Yeah. And Kershaw gets in, Verlander gets in.
And Verlander's going to get in the first time he's on the ballot.
He should.
Right? And I'll tell you, now, this is a short-term thing, but the kid at Detroit.
Oh, Tarek Skubal?
Yeah, has been the last 2 years. Now, this is 2 years. 2 years. All right. But you'll get into absurd conversations.
Yes.
So let's go back a few years with the Mets. Jacob deGrom. Right? Not winning games, but pitching dominant. Could he be a Hall of Famer that doesn't win 100 games? Like going, what are you talking about? Well, the game's different now because of. Hey. Sorry, but no. And now, since then, he's been hurt a lot, and that's been the issue. He's always been hurt. That's why, knock on wood, right? Skeens has pitched beautifully, and knock on wood, he's been healthy the entire time.
Yeah.
And the Pirates, by the way, are playing terrific baseball.
They, I believe, shut out the Cardinals in 3 straight games.
Yes.
So not too bad. It's interesting. It's interesting to hear these player names brought up. Another one who I think is in the same ballpark as Scherzer, just to add him in there, Chris Sale. And getting, again, incredible, but I don't think he's getting in.
No, too many injuries. He's not going to make it. Sale was one of the greatest things to ever happen to him is when he got traded from the White Sox to the Red Sox, because then he was like, okay, look how dominant he is, incredible. Had the backing, because obviously 2018 team, I think, they won 119 games between the regular season and the postseason.
Incredibly dominant, a fun pitcher to watch.
They needed 3 outs in the 9th inning to clinch it. He struck out all 3 guys, including Manny Machado, to end it. And that's he too many injuries. He's not going to make it. It's simple as that.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how starting pitchers are thought of in this era. There are not 20-game winners anymore.
No, a lot of pitchers pretty much just go through as many games as you can, but it's 5-6 innings.
I mean,
they do 5-6 innings at a time, and that's pretty much what it is. You don't see a lot of pitchers going 9 innings. I forget who it was who went 9 innings recently, and it was like this whole big deal. And I was like, it used to be if you're a good pitcher, you get through 8. You try and get through 8. Incredible. Yeah. And then that 9th, either if you can get through it, you get through it. If you can't, the closer comes in and ends the game.
Well, Verlander's around 260, 261 wins, something like that, right?
Something like that.
All right. So he's now gone through his first 13 starts with the Giants, and he's winless.
Yeah.
Now he's 42 now.
Verlander's at 262 all-time wins.
Okay, sorry, I missed.
He's 40th all-time.
I missed. Okay, I said 260, 261. That's a failure.
How dare you?
The funny thing is, his ERA actually is decent, the whole thing. But again, there's only so many innings he can pitch, and they've got to be able to have the lead when he leaves, and they don't. It's just a different time in baseball as to how they're looked at, and maybe we have to take a different look at starting pitchers. But I think, look, there are two things happening here, pro and con. So let's talk about the pro part. You have guys coming in for their inning, and they are throwing gas.
They're throwing 100 plus.
They're throwing gas.
I remember when Strasburg came into the league, and it was this crazy thing that someone could throw over 100. And it was like, oh my gosh, he's 100 just casually coming off his arm, and it was crazy and intense and insane. And his debut was against who? Was it against the Pirates?
I think so.
Yeah. And then he went 1, 2, 3. He threw his curveball, and on the 8th pitch, and it was incredible. Yeah. And I can remember watching the debut and being like, that's insane. He's throwing 100. Pretty much everyone has to throw 100 to be a good starting pitcher now.
So let's get to a guy that was here, Jordan Hicks. Jordan Hicks, when he was here through 95 to 97, pretty good, right?
Yeah.
You know, and like mostly 95, 96, but like occasionally would hit 97. You're like, oh, okay, I can, and when the Spikes won, they won the New York Penn League Championship that year, and he was one of the starting pitchers. Although he I think he gave up like 6 walks in a playoff game, like on. Okay, so when he finally gets up to the big club with the Cardinals, he's throwing 101 to 100, 105. Remember, he threw the 105 mile per hour pitch against the Phillies, I think it was. Well, it's like, holy mackerel, 100 to 105, 100 to 105, because he gets into a weight program and so forth, which they put you on as you work your way through the system, and that's what happens. He also ended up doing what?
Tommy John?
Blowing out his arm. Now, he's back, and he's moved a little bit. I think Toronto, San Francisco, and now he's about ready to debut with the Red Sox. He was in the Rafael Devers trade. So he's been at Worcester for the past week and a half. But my point is, there's a guy that went out and threw hard, and needed surgery.
Like, how many times now do we see at the start of the season, like a weekend, all of a sudden, breaking news, this guy tears his UCL. This guy needs Tommy John. Like, it's every other week we see a new guy having to have elbow surgery or some sort of shoulder surgery because they destroy their arms throwing 100-something miles an hour. Like, your body isn't physically meant to do that.
I mean, Bob Gibson, 1968, was one complete game after another. I don't ever remember Bob Gibson breaking down. I mean, the 1967 Bob Gibson missed time, but not because of his arm, because he broke a bone in his leg. Right? When he came back, he won 3 games in the World Series. Game 1, 2-1. Game 4 in St. Louis was 6-0, and Game 7 was 7-2. He was great. He also hit a home run in Game 7. Right? That's him coming off an injury that wasn't an arm injury. He didn't have arm injuries. Why didn't Tom Glavine, John Smoltz, and Craig Maddox have arm injuries? Why? I mean, now, for all we know, back in the 20s when Walter Johnson's throwing complete games, for all we know, his arm was falling off because, I mean, the trainer happened to be a guy that, rubbed some dirt on it. I mean, look, let's go way back for Penn State football trainers, right? Jim Hochberg, right, and Chuck Medler. Well, Chuck Medler was also the baseball coach. He was the football trainer. Hey, today it's a little bit different. It's okay. It's all specialized now, but we are seeing injuries today that I don't recall many of them for a long period of time. Tommy Johns, all right? strains. Hey, here's one, right? And this happens in football. Pec tears.
Everyone's tearing their pectorals.
Right? That was not an injury that we heard of going along. We didn't hear about that. Now, I'm going to use a horse racing analogy here. So bear with me on the horse racing part of it.
Go for it.
When you look at horses and the breakdowns that they have today, they are being bred over and over again in the lines for speed. And in the lines for speed, as it keeps going from generation to generation, right, you're getting certain parts of the horse's anatomy in the legs as they're bred for speed where it's causing breakdowns because the line is getting thinner and thinner all the time. And I think as we've done more weight training than ever before, it's been great for the athletes. It's been great. But there's also a limit. And I think there have been a few of them, and it's not the trainer that's doing it. I mean, the trainer's trying to push you, I know. But there's got to be a limit as to, okay, wait a minute. We need to back off today, right? In other words, when they think you have a stress fracture, they shut you down. Now, last year, a couple of guys for Penn State were, and I'm talking about basketball now, were close. So it was prevented. So it didn't happen. But they were trying to prevent them from stress fracture of the knee. I've never heard of that injury. I've never heard of it. What?
Well, we see
stuff today, like, again, all the training is great. They're in better shape than ever. Yet there are different ways of breaking down now that we didn't have before.
And that's why, like, I look at the Achilles tears we saw this season with Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum, and Tyrese Halliburton in the NBA. And all of them did the same move and tore their Achilles on that move.
Yes.
Which is and we see it a lot now, especially with shooters. You'll see it where they take the instinctive step back to push off, to go forward to the basket.
But I think the three of them all had something in common. I think they all had a calf injury.
Yes, they all had a calf injury along with that. But
yes,
the point is we're seeing a lot more Achilles tears. Part of that most likely is they are pushing off differently. They're moving differently. And as you said, we're seeing different injuries than we used to see.
But my point is,
yes,
I think the calf injury leads to it because what are you trying to do? You're overcompensating.
Yes.
Okay? So we get back to a pitcher, Dizzy Dean. Dizzy Dean was incredible. He was a 34-game winner one year. Last National League 30-game winner. Okay? He took a line drive off his foot. He tried to come back too soon from it. And in doing it, he overcompensated. And he ended up wrecking his arm. Yeah. All right. So now back to the calf injury. I think you're overcompensating.
Yes.
It's not, and so what's causing it? Well, it's the overcompensation that's causing it. You think you can play through it. Yeah, I can play through the calf injury. I can do it. I mean, Halliburton got criticized.
But we saw...
He got criticized.
Yeah. We saw these three do it. We saw Kevin Durant did the exact same thing. Calf injury, came back to play in the next game. All of a sudden, tears his Achilles because he does the same move where he took a step forward.
That was in the NBA Finals against Toronto.
NBA Finals, yeah. Yep. But the point is, we're seeing these injuries more. We're seeing more of these top pitchers hurt their arms and blow them out.
Yeah.
And it's becoming more commonplace. Like Jacob deGrom, as you mentioned, incredible pitcher. Problem is, he's always hurt, and he's always got a hurt arm or hurt shoulder or hurt something. Yeah. And a lot of that is down to he's throwing 105-mile-an-hour fastballs every pitch or 2 out of every 3. Right. And at some point, it takes a toll on your arm. Like, we used to see Mike Mussina throw 94. That was like top range for Mussina was 94, maybe a 95-mile-an-hour pitch. And he got there, and it was like, that's a great pitch. We used to see so many more pitchers have like 3 or 4 pitches. And that was the whole thing. We're seeing pitchers have a good changeup, a good fastball, they'd have a curveball, and they'd have a something. And that was it. That was their rotation.
Yes.
But now you're seeing guys throw 105 and, like Strasburg did, have an 85-mile-an-hour curveball. And that thing is moving.
Right.
But to get a curveball to go 85, 90 miles an hour takes an incredible amount of stress in your arm.
Right. On the spikes, is a young man, Landon O'Donnell. He's in his second year here. And Landon O'Donnell has already touched 98 several times this year. Now, they do a great job of he gets one inning. He doesn't pitch more than one inning. He gets an inning. That's it. He throws, I would say, 90% fastballs. He has one other pitch. But to move through the ranks, all they have to do is work on the second pitch. Because they just want the velocity and the mix of the second pitch if you're going to be that limited one inning setup guy, one inning closer, whatever. He hasn't closed yet. He's been just.
But in that ballpark.
But that, and Landon, knock on wood, has not had arm trouble. He pitched well here last year. He was fine going back to college. He will be drafted in 2 weeks. In 10 days from now, Landon O'Donnell's name will be called somewhere, and I think he's going to be in the first 10 rounds somewhere. I think there's a shot he pitches tonight. He pitched Monday in that Cape Cod League MLB
at
draft
Citi
league
Field.
game at Citi Field where Harrison Didewick of the Spikes homered in that game at Citi Field. And O'Donnell pitched in that game, so did Peters. Peters will be drafted as well. Those three guys will get drafted. There's no doubt in my mind. And then it becomes a mix as to who else. It's only a 20-round draft now. It's not. In a 40-round draft, I could list a dozen guys that will get drafted. But in a 20-round draft, I can't. But my point about O'Donnell is he has a second pitch, but he only uses it sparingly. Okay? At some point, that's going to have to develop. And so you're seeing more and more pitchers not have a third pitch. Now, look at Aroldis Chapman. Chapman, to his credit, has bounced back, and he's having a great year for the Red Sox. He is throwing 3 pitches now. If you recall, when he tried to close for the Cubs, and he did, against Cleveland in the 2016 World Series, he threw 41 pitches in the 9th inning, and all 41 were fastballs.
He had the fastball, and that was what he threw.
Right. And all 41 were fastballs. And he can throw 101, 102. The issue he always had was that a lot of times he threw straight. Oh, yeah. No. Right? If a fastball has a little bit of movement on it, little bit, now it becomes dangerous.
That's why.
When I mean dangerous for the hitter to hit the ball.
Yeah.
Right? If it's straight, major league hitters can hit a straight pitch.
If I know exactly where it's going at all times, it's easy to hit. That was why I know as a kid when I was pitching, and I, of course, am not comparing myself to any of these people, but I always was like, I'm going to throw a 2-seam instead because it gets a little bit of movement. And any sort of movement on a pitch is what screws with a batter. That's why you've seen so many pitchers, like why Mariano Rivera's fastball changeup cutter was so good, because the changeup always went a little bit to the left. It always went from his right to his left, just a little bit. His fastball would go straight and drop a little bit. His cutter would go back right to the inside of a righty. And you would see halfway through the same pitch, and then at the end of it, they all go different directions. And that knowledge is tough because you're like, it could be any of these pitches, and it's probably going to be the cutter, but what if it's not? And what if it does that changeup right now and he drops it on me? Like, I'm done for.
It's interesting about, you mentioned Rivera. For whatever reason, like certain guys, there was a backup third baseman for the Yankees that Pedro Martinez had trouble with all the time. Like, the guy was like not a, like, everything was like, I can't figure it out. For whatever reason, Bill Miller, who, by the way, was a National League batting champion one year when he was with the Giants, could hit Rivera. In 2004, the game where Veritek and Rodriguez got into it. Veritek took his glove and shoved it in his face, and they cleared.
Yeah.
Well, people forget the Red Sox won the game in 10 innings, right? Because Bill Miller hit a home run to walk it off Mariano Rivera. Well, on the famous Dave Roberts steal second, which Posada makes a great throw, by the way. It's one of the best throws I've ever seen Posada make. Right? The guy that delivers the base hit off Mariano Rivera is Bill Miller. So they asked Jason Veritek, what is it about Bill Miller? Why does he have Mariano Rivera's number? And he looks at, and Veritek looks at the camera, he says, you don't seem to understand. Nobody has Mariano Rivera's number. He says, but Bill Miller, to his credit, is an excellent hitter and is able to somehow figure out something. Right? He said,
everyone's got that one person who
but he doesn't. But they said, look, he doesn't have his number. That's absurd. But to his credit, he was able to come up. Yeah, I mean, you look at when the Yankees lost the World Series to Arizona, right? Let's give Tim McCarver all the credit in the world. Tim McCarver's talking about, why is the Yankee infield up? He says, Luis Gonzalez has the ability to potentially bloop one against Rivera, which means it's not hit hard. He's not like he's not squaring up and whatever, and he blooped it, and Arizona won the World Series. Right? And but see, that's what a good analyst does. And I know this is a different tangent, but I mean, these are the people I work with: Dick Girardi, right? Jack Ham, Penn State fans. And I told the quarterback club this last year when I was the guest speaker instead of the interviewer. I said, with all due respect to all of you, I don't think you have any idea how lucky you are that those are your two analysts. I said, you're not getting the obvious. I said, you're getting a breakdown of the game. Tim McCarver, right? This isn't after the play. This is before the play. I don't understand why they're doing this. They're not positioned right based on the hitter and who the pitcher is. And it turned out he was right. That's how they lost the game.
That's why fans got fascinated with Tony Romo, and he would predict exactly what was going to happen. Because he's like, well, this is what they're set up for. So if I'm him, I do X, Y, Z, and then a touchdown happens, and all of a sudden, X, Y, Z, touchdown happens.
The Chiefs Patriots playoff game was the AFC title game. Romo was as good as it gets.
And that's what we get with Dick Girardi and Jack Ham, is they're walking through this all.
Every game. They both see things. Jack was an excellent athlete, right? But his mind, okay? And this is what Mike Wagner may not be a Hall of Famer. Mike Wagner as a safety, same thing, the mind, okay? Well, for Jack, it translates into the broadcast, right? Dick sees things like they're developing, happening. I mean, and it has a different way of looking at it. It's like, and I told that group, I said, no matter what you think of me, I said, good, bad, indifferent. I said, you can tell I'm really worried about it. I said, I'm exponentially better because I work with those guys. Yeah. Okay? And that's the way it should be. You should always work with, desire to work with people who can make you better.
Agreed. And the short of this, the rants and tangents we've gone on is players see the game in certain ways at certain times. In the case of Miller, he sees how to hit against Mariano Rivera. He doesn't have his number, but he knows how to hit against him to a point where he's not getting thrown a cutter and missing the 10 out of every 10 pitches. He knows how to hit. He knows how to hit Mariano Rivera. And then you go to the case of a lot of these pitchers. They need to have pitches to be able to make it so a batter doesn't know it's coming at all times, and that's gone away with the speed some of these guys have. Right. Where a lot of players will have two pitches. Right. And need to develop more as they go. Skeens developed the splinker, and this thing is it's dropping off the face of the earth, and it's incredible.
Well, what was the hot pitch last year? Sweepers. I never hear anybody talking about sweepers anymore. Never.
Nope.
Everyone
used to need a slider. That was the big. It used to be a slider in like the late 2000s, early 2010s.
The Yankees were huge in their organization on sliders.
Well, I remember the reason they were big on it is because people would throw sliders, and Mo would throw a pitch that goes the other direction.
Yeah.
And it just changes your perception of the plate at all times.
But the Yankees were huge
dominant
as an organization on sliders. The Pirates, when they were here, were huge on first pitch fastball strikes. Right. I mean, they drummed that into everybody. Well, after a while, teams are coming into the plate going, whatever, he's going to throw a fastball. Like, shocking, they kind of lay on it. You're like, okay, I wonder why.
Who was it? The Tigers were facing off against. Who was it this weekend? They were facing off against the Detroit Tigers. They were taking on somebody. I can't tell you who.
Yeah, it was Sunday Night Baseball.
Sunday Night Baseball. They were facing. Maybe it was the Twins.
Yeah, it was the Minnesota Twins.
And
You're right.
the Twins' leadoff batter was, if I can pull it up, I can tell you who it was. It was Byron Buxton.
Yeah.
And Tarek Skubal.
By the way, I mean, all-star player.
Oh, incredible.
Really good player.
We'll get to all-stars by the end in a second. But Byron Buxton came up. And Tarek Skubal had, for the first pitch in his first 119 starts, thrown a first-pitch fastball. Every single one. And Buxton swings on 60% of his first pitches. Yeah. And he hits 40% of them. And I remember I heard this. I think it was Boog Sciambi is on the broadcast, I believe. Or whoever the broadcaster was.
Boog Sciambi?
Boog. He brought it up. He said, he is going to go into this. And this is the greatest, most watched first pitch ever. Because is Skubal going to throw another 120th fastball to start this game? Even though Buxton's going to swing at it and he knows it's coming? Yeah. Or is he not? Yeah. And that's really cool to break down. And then what happens? Skubal throws a changeup and misses, and Buxton's at the batter's box, takes a step back and laughs because he and Skubal both know what just happened.
Yeah,
it was what are you gonna do? Well, what am I gonna do? I don't know what you're gonna do. What are you gonna do? Yeah. And it was just back and forth, and that's why trends and pitches are so interesting. And so many pitchers, it's just the fastball, and it's that second pitch, as you said. And then developing that third one later.
Yeah.
And pitchers we used to have pitchers with 3 to 4 pitches, and that was
sure,
who's going to throw what at what time. And maybe if, let's say, Steve Jones is on the mound, he's got a fastball, he's got a changeup, he's got a curveball, and he's got a slider. Maybe the slider, changeup, and curveball aren't the best pitches, but they're all good at what they do in their own different direction. You can use them in different situations to different things. You can throw them all well. And that was a big thing of what the 2000s pitchers in what I grew up with, you'd see them. They'd have 3 pitches and a 4th one they could use sometimes. And that sometimes was really good for them. But going to the All-Stars, just to rattle through the names real quick, we'll go through them. The NL All-Star starters, DH Shohei Ohtani, I know, surprised, the leading vote getter for the NL. You have Freddie Freeman, Ketel Marte, Francisco Lindor, Manny Machado, and Will Smith catching. Pete Crow Armstrong, Ronald Acuna Jr., and Kyle Tucker in the outfield. For the AL, it's Ryan O'Hearn at DH, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Gleyber Torres, Jacob Wilson, the rookie, and Jose Ramirez with Kyle Raleigh at catcher. And then Aaron Judge, Riley Green, Javi Baez in the outfield. Aaron Judge, leading vote getter there. Javi Baez also made his 3rd All-Star game in his 3rd different position. He played second base, shortstop, outfield.
So let me talk about Javi Baez for a moment. He's always been one of those guys who has great skills, but sometimes you're not sure if mentally that day he's on the same page with the game. He knew he was in trouble. He knew he was in trouble with Detroit. They brought in, as people moved up through their organization, their shortstop, second base combination. He knew he could not beat them out. So he had a choice: release or convince them he could do something else to help. He told Detroit, I can play the outfield. I said, really? He said, yeah. And so he changed positions, and he's learned how to play the outfield, and he's been very good at it. He's also kept his bat in the lineup. But he was this close to not being a Tiger because positionally he was now obsolete.
He was an expensive, obsolete object.
And to his credit, he figured out a way to keep his career alive and also keep his paychecks alive with Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
And that tells me a lot about him because this is a guy that does have a World Series ring.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy that can talk to the younger players on this team that haven't really been through it before. Detroit made the playoffs last year, but the length of the run and how to handle not just the losing of it, which Detroit has had to handle, and by the way, based on how they're playing this year, they've obviously mentally bounced back.
Mm-hmm.
They and the Dodgers are tied for the best record in Major League Baseball,
Mm-hmm.
right? But also, he's going to be able to tell them how to handle the success of winning a round and about recalibrating and refocusing on the next round.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's what guys who have been through it before can do that. And the fact, and I can talk about that he might have the ability to do that because only somebody of maturity would look at his situation and not go, I'm going to beat these guys out. Well, the heck with you people. I'm going to go sign with the Astros. Right? Mm-hmm. No, he looked around and said, hey, look, I want to stay here. I want to play. I'll change positions to do it. That takes a lot of maturity to do that, right? And self-preservation.
Yes.
But it takes maturity, and I give him credit. He's an all-star, and he's a big reason why Detroit is where they are.
Mm-hmm. And moving over to the hardwood for two stories, we wrapped up yesterday, and after we did, the New York Knicks announced they are going to be hiring Mike Brown as the new head coach for the New York Knicks.
Explain to me what the difference is between Mike Brown and Thibodeau.
Different names.
I mean,
it's approximately the difference is they'd have different names.
I mean, it's just a different voice for them to hear.
Yeah.
The question I'm going to have for them is whether Jalen Brunson's father is retained.
Apparently, Rick Brunson and multiple other coaches on the roster are going to be retained and kept forward. There was rumors that Mike Brown wanted to bring in Pelicans assistant coach James Borrego as an assistant to Mike Brown. That is not happening, but there is rumors they might be trying to hire some other people from different places, whether it's from Dallas or a few other locations as assistant coaches. But we'll see what the Knicks look like going forward there. Of course, they, I guess, added some depth with Jordan Clarkson and Gershon Yabusele, who both can chuck up threes, which, sure, we'll see how it goes this year.
Look, there's no move that's been made in the NBA that's changing the league.
No. It has been moves around the edges.
I mean, the trades have.
Yes, the trades
have. I mean, Kevin Durant going to Houston, Porzingis going to Atlanta. So trades have changed some things, but free agency has done.
So what you're saying is DeAndre Ayton becoming a LA Laker on a 2-year deal is not moving the needle, Steve? Is that what you're saying? DeAndre Ayton teaming up with the former person drafted 2 picks after him, Luka Doncic, isn't moving the needle for you?
No. When Ayton was with Phoenix, and they had Booker, and they had Chris Paul. No, who's the other really good? They had Mikal Bridges.
Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson.
Right. I mean, that was a nice mix where Ayton could excel.
Mm-hmm.
He has not been in a position with Portland to excel at anything. He's just kind of gone along with a level of invisibility that's not good, as a matter of fact. Now, he won't be invisible with anything he does with the Lakers. Nope. As soon as he gets a double-figure game, the ESPN will be going on and on and on about it. It'll be absolutely the greatest thing ever because he's with the Lakers, and it is the Lakers and the Knicks are the only two teams they talk about.
That they are. By the way, this is just a very cool fact. This is now the 9th first overall pick LeBron James has played with in his career, which is just like really weird to think of. That he's played with nine other, including himself, not including himself, but 9 others. First overall picks. He, of course, is now going to play with DeAndre Ayton. He played with Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis. You've got Derrick Rose, Greg Oden, Andrew Bogut, Dwight Howard. I believe he played alongside that, I think, Joe Smith. And then there's one I'm forgetting in here somewhere. I don't remember who I'm forgetting. There's one other person he's played with who I'm forgetting. But he's played with 9 first overall picks. So, it's just cool.
And by the way, if you're wondering with Dwight Howard, that was actually in the bubble. They won the championship.
Dwight Howard in the bubble, yes.
Yeah.
Dwight Howard in the bubble. Bogut was with the Cavs for a little bit. Greg Oden was with the Heat when the Heels were going on.
I feel bad for Greg. I saw Greg down in Orlando when Penn State was in the Disney tournament because he was on that modest staff with Butler. Greg's a good guy. I mean, and he, you knew that when Penn State played them that year, because they played him twice, and they actually were a Mike Walker, like midcourt three from beating Ohio State. They were ranked number 1 at the time. They had Mike Conley. That
was a good team.
It was a really good team. Daquan Cook, who was a first-round pick, and Oden. But Oden's problem was when he got to the NBA, because Portland picked him first overall, he needed microfracture surgery. And it was after he'd started his career.
He started, and then it was within year 1.
And then he needed microfracture surgery, and after that, he never could get going again. So that's why he's trying to make a go in the coaching world right now. And, of course, Thad Matta was his coach at Ohio State. That's why he was at Butler with Thad. But, yeah, I mean, good guy. Always liked Greg. Seemed to be doing well when I talked to him. So.
Oh, by the way, the last first overall pick he played with was Shaq. Forgot he played with Shaq in Cleveland. Forgot that part. So Shaq was the last first overall pick he played with.
Yeah, Shaq even played in Boston. I don't think people realize that.
The round mound of rebound, played in Boston for a year. He played in Cleveland for a year.
Round mound of rebounds, Barkley.
Barkley, my bad. The Shaqtus and the Big Shamrock. I forget what other nicknames. Shaq has some of my favorite nicknames of all time. There are some good nicknames coming up throughout the league I'm seeing everywhere. So nicknames bring me joy, Steve.
Well, you would have loved Chris Berman, what he did with baseball nicknames.
The Swami knows what he's doing.
Odabe Young McDowell. All right, that was one of the great ones. That's when SportsCenter was actually, for some odd reason, attempted to be fun.
Let me tell you, waking up Sunday mornings and watching before NFL games or after the NFL game day, Chris Berman do all of his Swami stuff. That might be the highlight of my year. And the fact that he lived in the same town as me, I knew him, incredible human being.
Met Berman one time. It was at the U.S. Open that I was covering. And I thought Berman was a great guy to talk to. Great guy.
I told him in 2000.
I'll tell you, people don't realize what a big man he is.
Oh, he's humongous.
Yeah.
He is a gigantic part. He's like 6'6", 6'7", just huge.
Yeah.
I told him in 2009 when I saw him talking. I was a 9-year-old chatting to him, and he was giving me the time of the day. And I told him, I said, the Saints are going to win the Super Bowl. And he said, I don't believe you. 1 for 1 on telling Chris Berman who's going to win the Super Bowl, Steve.
That's okay, because Berman had this habit of picking the Bills a lot.
He would circle the wagons quite a bit.
When it came to the Bills, and he'd get close.
Yeah. He would circle the wagons with the Bills, but the greatest team to hear Chris Berman talk about, the Raiders.
Thank you for listening to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, a 7 Mountain Media production. Come back at 11 every weekday for analysis of the latest happening in the sports landscape. From college football to European soccer, Steve and Kyle cover it all.